Jai Hind to all my dear students. Hope you all are good and you are taking up your unit tests quite well. In continuation to the previous class, let us talk about the next topic today for the chapter metals and non-metals. If you all remember that we were discussing about the chemical properties of metals and the non-metals, wherein we have already discussed the two of the properties of metals and non-metals, that is the reaction of metals and non-metals with oxygen, and second the reaction of metals and non-metals with water. So today we are going to talk about the third chemical property, in which we will see how the metals and the non-metals react towards the acids. So let's see the next slide. These are the things which we are supposed to discuss in the chemical properties. We have already done with the reaction with oxygen. We have done with the reaction with water. Now today in this class, we are going to discuss about the reaction with acids, and we will also talk about the displacement reactions. So although the displacement reactions you all know, and this topic has been dealt in the very first chapter itself, but in terms of metals and non-metals, how is it happening, we will be discussing it today once again. So our next topic is reaction of metals with acids. Now if you all can see this particular slide, when we will talk about the reaction of metal with an acid, every time you will find there will be formation of metal salt, and there will be a common gas whenever a metal reacts with an acid, and that will be the hydrogen gas. So a metal on reacting with an acid leads to the formation of corresponding metal salt plus hydrogen. I will talk about certain you can say conditions wherein this metal salt and hydrogen formation does not always take place. So what is that, we will be discussing in the next slides. But wherever this metal is reacting with an acid, it will always lead to the formation of metal salt along with the hydrogen gas evolution. Let us see few of the examples here. The very first example is the magnesium. Magnesium, a very well-known metal to all of you. In laboratories, you all have seen it in the form of magnesium ribbon. So when magnesium is allowed to undergo reaction with hydrochloric acid, it will form a chloride salt, which is the corresponding salt of magnesium, and that is magnesium chloride, having the formula MgCl2. This is the metal salt here. And another product will be the hydrogen gas, which will be represented as H2. Similarly, when aluminium undergoes reaction with hydrochloric acid, it will lead to the formation of another metal salt, which is aluminium chloride, with the formula AlCl3 and the hydrogen gas, that is H2. Now, if we try to understand the mechanism, how this whole reaction is happening, that when acid is reacting with a metal and it is leading to the formation of salt plus hydrogen gas, we will find that it is actually a kind of displacement which is happening here, and because of which it is leading to the formation of the products which are the salt and the hydrogen. Now here, if you all recall the reactivity series which has been taught to you in the very first chapter, you will find that in the reactivity series, magnesium lies above the hydrogen, which means magnesium is a more active metal as in comparison to hydrogen. So what will this magnesium do? It will displace hydrogen from its place, and it will take the place of hydrogen and combine itself with chlorine atoms, and then after it will lead to the formation of magnesium chloride, which is MgCl2, and along with the same there will be evolution of hydrogen gas. Why is there a hydrogen gas formation? Because when this hydrogen is displaced from its position, it is now existing in the reaction medium alone. And since hydrogen in its atomic form is unstable, it cannot exist in that form. It combines with another hydrogen atom and forms a covalent bond with each other, which leads to the formation of a molecule, and that is the hydrogen molecule. So this is how the displacement reactions take place whenever there is a reaction between an acid and a metal. You must be remembering a statement what I gave few minutes back, that it is not that all metals will undergo reaction with an acid. You might be having a confusion with this statement. Let me give you an example here. If I take a copper plate and add few drops of dilute sulfuric acid over the same, this is also an example of an acid and metal, where these two things are reacting with each other. So I think most of you would answer me that the products will be copper sulfate plus hydrogen gas. But no, this is not the correct answer. Here there will be no reaction. Why? Reason is because when you will compare the reactivity between copper and hydrogen, you will find that hydrogen is lying above the copper, and copper being a less active metal than hydrogen, it will not be able to displace hydrogen from its place, and therefore it will show no reaction. So many times students, this kind of questions are asked during the examination, and you have to think upon the reactivity series, and then only you can decide whether that acid metal reaction would take place or it would not take place. So blindly you cannot write always the reaction to be happening and leading to the formation of metallic salt along with the hydrogen gas. So you will have to check the reactivity if that metal is lying above the hydrogen, because acid will always contain the hydrogen in it. So the basic and the simple way how to get to know this, that you, if you can see any metal which is reacting with an acid containing hydrogen, and that metal is lying above the hydrogen, so definitely the answer will be yes, the reaction will take place. But if it is containing, or if that metal which is going to react with the acid is present below the hydrogen, so in that case you have to check and recheck that with that salt formation and hydrogen formation is taking place or not. So in those cases will not be formed, and there are few of the metals which will be lying below the hydrogen, namely copper, silver, gold, platinum, palladium. So these are 4 5 names at least which you all can remember, and recall it every time whenever you are finding any acid and a metal reaction happening in front of you. So these are few more examples of the reaction between a metal and an acid. So in general, metal and acid when react with each other, forming salt plus hydrogen. Once again, the same thing. You need to remember. And a few more examples, as you all can see, with calcium. Suppose if I am taking a common a metal, that is calcium, but I have taken a different acids here. One is hydrochloric acid, another is nitric acid, and another is sulfuric acid, but the metal remains same. So what do you think? The salt will remain similar? No. It will depend upon which particular acid we have taken, and according to that the metal salt will be formed. With hydrochloric acid it will be calcium chloride, with nitric acid, it will be calcium nitrate. With sulfuric acid, it will be calcium sulfate. And the hydrogen will be the common product in all these cases. Similarly, when we will talk about the magnesium reacting with nitric acid and sulfuric acid, so it will be magnesium nitrate and magnesium sulfate respectively, along with the evolution of hydrogen gas in both the cases. So this is what we can understand in this particular slide, that whenever there is a reaction of metals, generally the organic acids, the inorganic acids, sorry, they would be containing the hydrogen, such as hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, phosphoric acid, acetic acid, and such kind of acids would be containing hydrogen. So the salt formed will depend upon the acid used. Like for example, if you talk about the nitric acid being used with the reaction with metals, so it will be forming the nitrate salt. If it is sulfuric acid, it will form the sulfate salt. Similarly, if it is hydrochloric acid, it will form the chloride salt. So if you want to further clarify this more, you can just go back to the previous videos which have been shared with you all regarding the family of salts, wherein all these topics have been dealt in more detail regarding the family of salts and the type of salts being formed, how are they being formed, what are the acids and the bases being involved in the formation of these salts. So that is how you can easily understand that which kind of salt will be formed if a metal is reacting with a particular kind of acid. So here you can see few more examples of reaction between metals and acid. The first reaction, calcium reacting with hydrochloric acid forming calcium chloride plus hydrogen gas, and aluminium reacting with nitric acid forming aluminium nitrate plus hydrogen gas. So it is just simple that you have to make the corresponding salt of that particular metal, and accordingly you will be able to get the product, and the one of the product will always remain common when a metal is reacting with the acid, and that is the hydrogen gas. Students, a few more examples for your reference. Then sodium, which is one of the very highly reactive metal, undergoing reaction with hydrochloric acid forming sodium chloride and hydrogen gas. Iron reacting with hydrochloric acid forming ferrous chloride plus hydrogen gas. Magnesium reacting with sulfuric acid forming magnesium sulfate plus hydrogen gas. And when aluminium is reacting with sulfuric acid, leads to the formation of aluminium sulfate plus hydrogen gas. Now let us understand that actually practically when this reaction is happening, suppose if we have taken a magnesium strip and we have added a dilute acid, say hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid in its diluted form, we find some bubbles formation which keep on rising to the surface. So what is happening here? It is the bubbles of the gas which is getting produced, and definitely now once we know theoretically that this gas is hydrogen, but what is the way practically to confirm the same? So let us talk about the testing for this particular gas, how it can be done. So now what are we going to do? There is a pop sound. If it is heard, then it confirms the evolution of the gas, which is the hydrogen gas, and this test is called as the pop sound test. So suppose if you have taken sodium, magnesium, aluminium and iron, and now you have added so like suppose 2 ml of acids to each of these metals, and then you will find that the reaction is happening vigorously in the case of sodium, at a good rate in the case of the magnesium, in the aluminium, maybe in case of iron it is a bit less. So but in all these cases there will be the evolution of hydrogen gas. So how can we confirm that the gas being evolved is the hydrogen gas? So it is the pop sound test which confirms this. For the same, what you have to do, you have to just collect the gas somewhere. Maybe you can do this thing by closing the mouth of the test tube with the thumb, and then bringing a burning matchstick nearby the mouth of the test tube, and then immediately remove your thumb so that this gas comes in the contact of the burning matchstick. You will find it will get extinguished along with the pop sound formation. So if you hear the pop sound, then it confirms the presence of the hydrogen gas. So this is how you will be able to get the pop sound, and you will be able to confirm the presence of hydrogen gas, which is the characteristic test for the detection of hydrogen gas here. So wherever this reaction is happening, the gas will always tend to move in the upward direction when a metal and acid will react with each other. And now when you are bringing a burning matchstick nearby the mouth of the reaction vessel or the container or the test tube, you will find there is a pop sound which will be getting produced after extinguishing of the matchstick, and that will confirm the presence of hydrogen gas. This is the diagram of one of the another setup which has been discussed in your NCERT also, where you can see a proper setup has been given over here. And when the dilute sulfuric acids are allowed to react with zinc granules. Always remember, zinc will always be present in the form of granules. So this was one of the exceptional cases also in the metals physical properties, wherein we discussed that the zinc, being a metal, is non-ductile and non-malleable. So it is present in the form of the granules. So when the zinc granules will be allowed to react with dilute sulfuric acid, it will then react with each other, and the gas will be collected, and you will find the gas which is getting formed over here in the soap solution is forming the bubbles. And when a candle is brought nearby the gas, it is burning of hydrogen gas with a pop sound, which confirms the presence of the hydrogen gas here. Now, in this particular question, there can be like one another way of putting up in a form of a question. Like if I ask you, instead of zinc granules, if what would happen if I take the zinc dust? So the answer would be the reaction will become more vigorous. Why? Because the surface area will increase, and there will be a better reaction of the acid with the metal being taken up over here for the reaction. This is the part of the NCERT which has been discussed. So, as you all can see, when metal is reacting with dilute acid, it leads to the formation of salt and hydrogen. So, you may ask a question over here: why dilute acid? Why can't we take the concentrated acid over here? Students, we can take the concentrated acid, but in that case we will have to be very much careful, because this reaction is highly exothermic. Because whenever the reaction of a metal happens with an acid, it leads to the evolution of heat energy. So, and that too in the case of the dilute form of acid. So you can imagine, if the reaction with dilute acid is exothermic, which is producing a considerable amount of heat energy. In the case of concentrated, it will be too much of heat energy which will get liberated. That's why it is dilute form of acids which is taken up for the reaction with metals. Now, activity 3.11 says over here that you have to collect the different samples of the metal, but you are not supposed to take up sodium and potassium. The reason is very simple: because they are highly reactive, and then they may even react with the air and the cold water. So they may cause certain severe accidents. So you're not required to go ahead with the samples of sodium and potassium. Now, if you have taken a metal which has undergone tarnished, or which has undergone the process of corrosion, so you have to rub it with the clean sandpaper, so that the layer of oxide can be removed off, and the pure metal is in the contact of the acid. And then after, you have to put the samples in the test tube which is containing the dilute hydrochloric acid, and leave it for few minutes. And then you have to check with the help of the thermometer that what is the uh, temperature being observed in each of the test tubes, and then what is the rate of formation of bubbles. So it will all depend upon the reactivity of that metal with the acid. So higher is the reactivity, more higher will be the temperature, and more will be the evolution of the bubbles or the formation of bubbles will be. So that is how the reaction of metals with the acids would be taking place. So in this case, when we will suppose if we have taken four different metals, say magnesium, aluminium, zinc, and iron. So this is the reactivity order, and you will find that there will like in case of copper, if you would have taken copper, there will be no bubbles will be seen, and the temperature will also remain unchanged. And about this case only I was talking initially. If you all remember that copper, because it is lying below the hydrogen, it won't be able to displace it, and ultimately there will be no reaction, and because of which there will be no bubble formation and no change in the temperature also. So this shows that the copper does not react with the dilute hydrochloric acid. Now the next, a very important part given over here is the aqua regia. In Latin it is called as royal water. And when we talk about the composition of aqua regia, it is actually the mixture of concentrated hydrochloric acid and concentrated nitric acid in 3:1 ratio. So it is having the capability to dissolve gold, even though neither of these acids can do so alone. If you, it means that if you have taken only hydrochloric acid, or if you have taken only nitric acid, it will not be able to, I mean, dissolve gold over here. But when they have been taken in this combination of 3:1 for hydrochloric acid and nitric acid, they are able to even dissolve the gold, and it is highly corrosive and fuming liquid. It's quite strong, and it is one of the few reagents that is able to dissolve the gold and platinum. So like whenever we give our jewelries for polishing, it is actually this particular liquid which is utilized by the goldsmith to clean the gold and the all the dirt and the um, like impurities which are present over the surface of the gold ornaments. But when they are also able to dissolve some part of the gold jewelry into the solution, which can be later on extracted from the same. And that's why generally this is one of the complaint from the different people, that once they have given their jewelries for polishing, and after they have got it returned, there was a difference in the weight of the gold jewelry or that jewelry. It was because that few of the goldsmith may be able to dissolve this gold, and then later on they are able to extract it from the solution. Now very quickly we will talk about that how do metals react with the solution of other metal salts. So for this there is a very common activity which you all must be remembering, wherein you have to take a clean wire of copper and an iron nail. So you have to put the copper wire in the solution of iron sulfate and iron nail into the copper sulfate solution, and then you have to observe this after 20 minutes. So this is the setup which you will find over here. One, this one. You will be able to see that in the case where you have added the iron nail to the copper sulfate solution, and where you have added the copper to the iron sulfate or ferrous sulfate solution, in the first case there will be some change, some reaction will be taking place, but in the second test tube there will be no any change observed. So why did this happen? That in one of the in one of the sample there was a change in the color, there was a reaction which was being observed, and the blue color of copper sulfate turned into green color, and there was a reddish brown color deposition which was found over the copper wire. But in the other case where the copper wire was dipped inside the ferrous sulfate or iron sulfate solution, there was no change being observed. The reason is simple here, that here iron is more active as in comparison to the copper. So when iron was put up in the copper sulfate solution, iron was able to displace copper from its salt solution. But copper being less active than iron, and when it was put up in the salt solution of iron, which is iron sulfate solution, it was not able to displace it from its salt solution. In general, we can write when metal A is reacting with the salt solution of B, and if metal A is more active than the metal which is present in the salt solution, in that case it will displace it and it will form the salt solution of A, and then there will be formation of metal B. So which metal, copper or iron, is more reactive according to your observation? It is actually the iron which is more active as in comparison to the copper. Now let's see the reactivity series. Although you all know about the reactivity series before only, because you have studied about the displacement reaction, you can see sodium and potassium are always lying on the topmost position, followed by calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, then after hydrogen, and all those metals which are lying below hydrogen, that is copper, mercury, silver, gold, lead, and then platinum, palladium, all these will not be able to displace hydrogen in under any circumstances. So this is how the reaction is going to take place. Suppose this is the metal and this is the salt solution of another metal. So the C being more active will be able to displace B, and then or you can say the C being more active will be able to displace this A, and now A will be present individually and there will be a combination between B and C. So this is how the displacement, and this will only take place when this C will be more active as in comparison to the A, which is the another metal. Suppose if I consider A as the metal over here, so A will be less active and C will be more active, and then only this reaction will be taking place. So in the case of a copper plate, when hydrochloric acid was being added, copper was lying below the hydrogen. That's why there was going to be no reaction. So this is something which you all know, where that when we are taking the blue copper sulfate solution and we are putting up an iron nail and we are leaving it even for a few hours also, then after some time this blue color disappears and get converted into light green color, and there is a deposition, reddish brown deposition over the iron nail, and that is how we can get to know that the displacement has taken place, and with this we can conclude that iron is more active than copper, because of which this reaction has taken place here. The similar reaction can be represented in the form of chemical formula as Fe plus CuSO4 leads to the formation of Cu plus FeSO4, and this is what is called as single displacement reactions. If we talk about the example of zinc undergoing reaction with copper sulfate, so we know that copper is less active than zinc, or we can say zinc is more active than copper. So there will be formation of zinc sulfate, which will be a colorless solution from blue color. So this blue color will disappear and there will be a colorless solution formed after some time, and there will be a reddish brown deposition in the test tube or that solution, with which we can actually understand that zinc is more active as in comparison to copper. But if you will reverse this case, which means if you have taken copper in its individual form and you have taken the salt solution of zinc, which is zinc sulfate, after few days also you will find that there is nothing happening, means no reaction, which again proves that copper is less active than zinc, because of which it is not able to show any reaction here. So a small homework for all of you to just find out what is going to happen in all these 5 different test tubes when we are taking copper sulfate and adding magnesium to it. Then we are taking zinc sulfate and adding magnesium metal to it, copper sulfate and then adding iron metal. This is what I have already discussed. Then on taking iron sulfate and adding zinc to the same, and then taking zinc sulfate and copper to the same. So just find out what is going to happen in these 5 test tubes. So I hope everyone would be able to get the answer very easily. It will all be depending upon that what is the position of the metal in each case in the reactivity series, and according to which you will be able to know. And practically also you can prove this thing, that whether a particular metal is more reactive or the less reactive. Based upon the same, you have one practical also, which we will be discussing in the next classes, wherein there are 4 5 metals which you are supposed to take, say aluminium, zinc, iron and copper, and we will take the corresponding salts of the same, like aluminium sulfate, copper sulfate, ferrous sulfate, and then zinc sulfate, and then we will add each metal in each salt solution, and we will check and observe whether they are able to displace the other or not. And once we have got the observation, we will be able to see and conclude which metal is the most reactive, followed by the other three. And this is what your practical would be. So for now, that's all for today. Hope you have understood whatever has been discussed here. Please refer to your NCRT and whichever side books you people have for going through this whole topic more thoroughly. We will be discussing the next chemical property in the next class. So till then, take care and happy learning to all of you.